Let's say you play a good opening, middle game and then you are piece up. But if you do not know how to checkmate your opponent in the end game, having extra pieces, then that's of no use. Hi, my name is Karan Parikh and I have been playing chess since 7 years, and I will be your guide for this video. In today's video, we are going to be seeing the most basic endgames, that is King and Queen versus King, King and two Rooks versus King, and lastly King and Rook versus a lone King. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. Okay, so to start off, we are going to be seeing Queen and King versus a lone King. So this is a forced checkmate if you play according to a theory. So now what is the theory, and I'll tell you the logic behind it also. You have to assume the queen can give check like a knight. So for example, here the queen goes to d5 even though there is no check, but if this queen were a knight, then the black king was in check, would have been in check, correct? So you just have to assume the queen can be a knight for giving checks. Now let's say here the black king goes to g6, then you go to e5, and once again you are acting as a knight and giving check to the black king. Now the theory behind this is when you played a queen to d5, you are making an imaginary box and you are boxing your opponent's king to the corner. Your main objective is now to take the king to the corner, bring your king and the queen and checkmate your opponent. So if you can observe it right now, the opponent king is limited to so less squares. You can see just a few squares like this, correct? Now if the king goes to g6 and you go to e5 giving a check like a knight, now the king is restricted to so less squares. You can see only 6 squares. So with this method, the box is getting smaller and smaller, and there will be a moment when the king would just have 2 squares to rotate, and then you'll bring your king. So to go further, the black king, let's say, goes to f7, then you go to d6 because that is also like a knight check. Then if the king goes to e8, then you go to c7. Note here queen to f6 would have also been a knight check, but now if you imagine it, the box is this and you have just flipped the box. Your objective was to take the king to this corner, correct? But now according to this box, it is running here. So you should not switch the boxes just like that. So here the right move was queen to c7 because now this is the box and the king will be forced to go to h8 square. Black plays king to f8, my bad. You go queen to d7, knight check. The king just has 3 squares. King goes to g8, queen comes to e7, knight check. And now is the moment when king goes to h8, that is the corner square. Now we have to follow the step 2 of this process where you bring in the king, because opponent is restricted to 2 squares, and if you go further with your queen, then it will be a stalemate, that is a draw, because there is no check on the black king as well as it cannot go anywhere outside. Okay, so that is called a stalemate. If you do not know what is stalemate, click on this I button right here and you will get to know what is it about. Now moving behind, here we'll now start bringing our king because the black king is restricted to 2 squares. So we'll bring our king inside after king to h8, king d4, king g8, king e5, king h8, king f6, king g8, and now is the time we bring our queen to g7 and it's a checkmate. So I guess you have understood now that using a king and queen how to checkmate. You have to bring your queen just like a knight and give check to your opponent if it were a knight, and then make a box and then move after move you have to shorten the box. You can see the box is smaller. Now the box is more smaller. Now here the box is very small, and like that you force your opponent to the corner 2 squares, and then you start bringing your king inside. Not a stalemate, okay? So you have to start bringing your king inside just like this. So this was how to checkmate with a queen and a king. Now moving on to the second part of today's video, that is how to checkmate with 2 rooks and a king versus a lone king. So this is more simpler than just one queen. This is also called as a ladder checkmate, in which these 2 rooks acts as ladders and checkmate your opponent's king. So your first step is to put your 2 rooks diagonally opposite to each other. Now let's say the king comes here. Now the second step is you have to start cutting off the king's files. Now if you see, the king is restricted to this part of the board right now, correct? This part of the board, because these squares are taken by the rook, correct? So the king is restricted from here to here. So you have to now start cutting off the files. So you play the move rook to c3, because now this cuts off this file. Now let's say king comes here. You then take your other rook and give a check. So now here this was controlled already, and now this is also taken away. So the king have to go this side, and now you can see the box is now smaller and smaller. We'll give another check with the other rook. The king goes here. We give check. King goes here. Give check. King comes here, and now finally, just like a ladder, we use 2 rooks as a ladder and checkmated your opponent. So let's start again. We place our rooks side by side diagonally. Then we start the ladder move. We come here, check, 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 and checkmate. Now one more thing that you are going to encounter is right here. If let's say we give a check, the king starts coming towards the rooks. Let's say I give a check, the king comes here, and now the rook is attacked. If you give another check, then you will lose the rook, and you do not want that, correct? So now we'll go to the far end with the rook. Let's say the king comes here, and now again we'll start giving checks, because it's not necessary you want the rooks diagonally, but you just have to control the files, correct? So the files are controlled just like this. So let's say if the king comes here, you give a check, king comes here, now again the rook is attacked. So you'll bring behind to the last rank the rook, and then in the next move you deliver the checkmate. So this was how to checkmate with 2 rooks versus a lone king. Now the third part of this video is how to checkmate with 1 rook and a lone king. So this is a little complicated, but it is easier than the queen one, okay? So firstly, of course, you have a rook, you have a king, opponent has a king. The first step is always to cut off the king to a smaller portion of the board. So here first step will play rook to a5, because the rook cuts off the king here. So now the king is restricted to this portion of the board only. Now here we have to use the rook and the king very wisely, because you have a 50 move rule in chess, that if in 50 moves you do not checkmate your opponent, then that will be a draw. So you do not want that, okay? So let's say the king comes here. Now you start bringing your king towards your rook. So the king comes here. Note, you do not want to keep giving checks, because as soon as you give a check, then the box is distorted and the king will come into the bigger box. You can see here the bigger box the king has entered, whereas initially it was into a smaller box. Sorry. So now you start bringing the king. Let's say the king comes here, you bring once again, the king comes here and attacks the rook, correct? So this time it is not necessary to go so far, but yeah, if you want to go, it's all okay. Let's say you go to the other edge of the board. The king comes here, and now you have to know the rule of opposition. Let's say you play the move king to b4, and in the next move black comes here. So now you have the opposition. You can see you are cutting off 3 of the squares of black, and now you can proceed to give a check. because now the king cannot cross into the bigger square and it has to go to the smaller square, and you can see it is now small. But if you had given check directly, it could have escaped out. So now you should know where to place your king. Here you do not have to place your king to c4 and give a position like this, because the king will run away. What you have to do? Put the king to b4. So now the king cannot come here because we'll give a check and it will go to the smaller square. So the king will start running this side, and you have to start running with your king, because whenever it comes here you have to give a check. Okay, so king goes here, you come here, king goes here, you come here, king goes here. Now you see your rook is attacked, so you come behind. Now the king will come behind, and now you cannot go here because it will start rolling again this side. So you wait with your rook. Now the king cannot come here because you will give a check. So the king goes here, you come here, king goes here, you come here, and now finally the king does not have squares to go that side. So it has to come here, and you can see the opposition is right here, and now you give a check. So the king cannot come ahead right now, it has to go behind, and now you start this process once again. You do not go here, not in front of the king, you go right here on g5. So now if black plays here, you have a check. So black will start running. Here, you also start running. Here, 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 here. Okay, no, your rook was attacked right here. Okay, your rook was attacked. So you have to put your rook to the other edge of the board. The king comes here. Now you play waiting move with the rook. Now it cannot come here because you will give a check. Correct. So it will come here. You go here. Come here. You go here. Come here. You go here. And now finally it has to come here and you give a check. Now once again it comes here. Then you go here. It goes here. You go here. You come here. And just like this, the rook is attacked. Put it to the other edge. It comes here. Play a waiting move. It goes here, and now start again like this. And now the final check, that is going to be a checkmate. So this was how to checkmate with a rook. This was a lengthy way, but to remember this, it's very easy. There is also one method, that is a box method, that you can use, that is similar to the queen one, where you box the opponent's king into a small box and keep making the box smaller and proceed. Here you can see we took 31 moves out of 50 moves, and even one mistake can make 10 moves ahead. You can waste more 10 moves. So let's see how to use the box method. So for the box method, here firstly you have to cut off the king, of course. Let's say the king comes here and you have to bring the king and rook together. That's for all methods. You bring the king and rook together and you come here. Now you see the king comes here, and now you can see this is the box, correct? So now you keep shortening the box with the help of the king and the rook. So now the box is smaller. The king comes here. Now you make the box more smaller. This is the box now. Let's say the king comes here. Now you bring your king here. It comes here, and now here you will see there is a problem, because now if you give a check, then that will be a problem, correct? Because the box keeps on changing. You do not want that. So when the king comes towards the rook like this, then you move your king. It comes here, then you play this, another small box. It goes here, you move this, another small box, just like this. It comes here, you bring your king now. It comes here, bring your king once again. It comes here, you come with the rook. And this is now very small. The opponent just have 6 squares for his king. Let's say he goes here and you place your rook here. Now the opponent is limited to 3 squares, and now you do not want your king to go this side because that is not a point. So you will start moving this side. So king comes here, you go here. King comes here, you go here. King comes here, and now you have to play a waiting move with your rook, because you can see this is the same position we got in the previous time, where the opponent is restricted to the last file and the rook is taking this file right here. So you play a waiting move with a rook. If the king comes here, then this will be a checkmate to the king. And if the king goes up, then you push your king and now just like this you get a checkmate. So this was how to checkmate with a rook and a king versus a lone king. And this was for the video. We saw 3 very basic checkmating patterns, or you can say endgame checkmates, that you would encounter if you are very good in the opening and middle game and you get a piece for free. Okay, so this was for today's video. I hope you liked this video. If you did, click on the like button, share your comments in the comment section down below, and thank you for watching. Stay safe, play chess, and keep learning. Bye bye.